Hey everyone, welcome, welcome. Guess what? It's Monday. I'm Mia Voss. That's Joel McDonald, JGOOT Joel, or just Joel, as we now call him. Chris asked me
Hey
today. He
Mia,
said,
how are you
he
doing?
said, who's the guest? I said, just Joel.
Just Joel.
Ta-da. It's good to see you. And here we are again. And you know where we are? We are in the JGOOT Village. Oh, hold on a second. So we are in JGOOT Village. Sorry, I had YouTube up. And free community where we teach anyone. I say this every week and you love it. Anyone, the basics of how to travel anywhere in the world for free. That's what we're going to do today. Now you're talking about guaranteeing an amazing vacation every time, a deal every time you book a vacation. I'm in. Count me
Yeah,
in.
and so quick disclaimer, this is, we talk about how to travel for free, but half of that is, by saving up those points for those valuable free trips. And sometimes you don't fly for free, you just fly for the cheapest 1% of flights out there. Either way, you're basically guaranteed to be able to take vacations for less than what 99% of the people on the same plane as you are paying by using the two strategies that we're going to show you today. Anyone got any wild guesses about the live demos that we're going to do and what two strategies we might use?
Well, guess what? Even that guess counts as a vote towards or towards a point
Yes.
towards learning or winning the $100 travel savings card. So the more that you comment, even random comments, that counts. And we'll be giving that away at the end of the program here. So a little bit of housekeeping, go to StreamYard.com// Facebook so I can see your comments. Look at this. We've got some folks here. Hi, Lynn, coming from Ridgeway, Colorado, where it's finally dry here, right? Thank goodness.
For a couple days.
For a couple days at least. Katie says, I'm not going to cheat. This is my prayer badge. Hi, Katie. And Carrie is here as well. So with that, as I like to say every week, we have some amazing experts that are out in the audience. So even if we don't get to your question or comment, we have a lot of them out there that are going to be commenting as well. So check that out. And if you're watching this on YouTube, if you want to join the JGOOT Village, come on over here. We will need to let you in to the group, but that's where a lot of the really fun, active comments are happening over here too. So, and I will tell you, as soon as we get done here, if you coming in late or you need to come back and watch it later, as soon as we're done, there'll be a replay, which is great because I always say I have to consume content more than once sometimes. It's a lot.
Repetition helps.
It sure does. So
especially with this stuff.
Yes, absolutely. All right, you ready to jump in?
Sure. So yeah, like I said, this is a guaranteed strategy on how to find the cheapest trips out there. And this is possibly one of our shortest demos. I think I've got 5 or 6 slides to show you. And then we're going to do live demos and just show you. The biggest thing we run into is people say, oh, this is so complicated. I don't get it. I don't understand. And the biggest reason for that is because most people travel the way they've always traveled, and they try to apply the rules that we always used to apply to the JGOOT way of travel. And that's kind of trying to force a square peg into a round hole. It just doesn't fit. And the funny thing is that makes it 10 times more complicated. So let's talk about how most people book trips. And this is myself included before I kind of discovered this way of travel. They see a cool place. It's plastered all over on Instagram. It's on their Facebook pages. It's where everyone else is going. And guess what? All of a sudden, they want to go there too. Well, odds of those places being a good deal when you decide to go are slim to none, because that's when everyone else wants to go. It's during school breaks. It's during summer breaks, winter breaks, fall breaks, national holidays. People are trying to get that 4-day weekend and use that for vacation so they don't have to use as many vacation days. Well, that's when most places will be expensive. Not all places, but most places. So the odds of the planets aligning perfectly for that destination that you've painted yourself into a corner for are slim to none. Like, those are just not going to be a good deal. So yeah, they see a good place, they decide to go there, and then they scratch their heads wondering, why is travel so expensive? I can say this because I did this for the first 20 years of my adult traveling life. And I took, 2 big vacations every 3 years. There was always like that 1 year that vacation just went on the back burner because wasn't in the budget. Had to replace a roof, had to replace a furnace, had a family emergency that replaced our vacation. You know the drill. Chime in, give me an amen if this has been you. And that's how everyone does it. That's how everyone assumes that it has to be done. But when you just simply flip the script and go where the deals are, everything changes. Like if you go where the deals are, by definition, you will only find good deals because you're looking every day. You go where the deals are. You can't fail. And so really what we're talking about, what we talk about every week, is the way most people plan vacations is putting the cart before the horse. They say, let's go to this place. Let's go during this time. And they've painted themselves into such a tight corner that the only way to get a good deal, or at least a JGOOT good deal, is to get lucky. And that maybe happens 1 in 10 times. The rest of the time, they get an okay deal. They think that's the best they can do. And they continue to travel that way for the rest of their lives because that's what everyone thinks. But it is so simple. It's not even funny. If you just go where the deals are, you can't fail. So the JGOOT way of planning a vacation is so simple, it's impossible for most people to believe it's that simple. But it really is this. Rule 1, you look every day, you find a flight that's less expensive than 99% of the flights out there. You go there. You literally plan vacations around those deals that are cheap to fly to, plain and simple. I've done it for, I've flown to Mexico for $60, for $100. I've flown to visit friends around the country for anywhere from $29 to $100 round trip. These are all cash deals. They're out there every day. But the biggest and most important thing, you got to be looking for them. This isn't something that you do and you decide, oh, let's plan a trip for spring break and hope to find a good deal. You look every day. When you see a deal to a place that interests you, that happens to be over spring break, you book it. It's that simple. And then rule 2, pretty much the same thing, but with points. And by looking for cash deals and by looking for points deals, you double the odds of finding something that's going to be an exceptional deal. And remember, all we're looking for is that 1 in 1,000 deal that could work with your schedule. A lot of people say, well, those are impossible to find. Well, there are tens of thousands of options out there every day. How many do you need for your own family every year? A handful? And so it's a lot of the assumptions that people have about, the odds of finding those deals are so slim, it'll never work for me. That's certainly the case if you're not looking for them. But if you look every day, it's almost impossible not to find a deal.
Joel, I feel like Carrie has been learning from you on the isms. When you deal in absolutes, never always you're going to be right 100% of the time. Keep your eyes peeled. Thank you, Carrie. That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, that reminds me of the Henry Ford quote, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. It's that simple. So if you think you can't travel this way, you can't and you won't. But if you just think like, if I found $100 flights to Hawaii that work with my kids' vacation schedule, or that only require me to take the kids out of school for 1 day, could I do that for $100 instead of $900 for coach seats? Most people would gladly do that, especially if they have a family of 4 or 6. That's $5,000 in savings before you even get on the plane. So it really is that simple. And the hardest part about it is accepting that it's that simple. Everyone wants to overcomplicate this. I can't travel this way. I can only travel during school breaks. Okay. Go to Cancun instead of Cabo. Go to Thailand instead of Bali. Go where the deals are. And whether that's cash deals or points deals, they're all out there every day and you can find them. The key is to just look for them.
Check out this comment from Brooke. Just in time for Father's Day, Father of the Year photo right here.
So yeah, I didn't explain that. We always try to include photos of clients or my own travels. This is not my travels. This is my son. He's in Australia right now. So
That is not his new apartment. That is his plane
yes,
ride.
that is his $7,000 one-way business class flight to Australia. My son's 6'3". We could have flown him there in coach for 50,000 points, or it was 82,000 points for business class. Come on, for an extra 30,000 points, why wouldn't we? I was looking to go and visit him, so we're going to go do a demo. I'll show you where you can find the same deals in a live demo.
I love this comment, Joel. I travel. This is from Ashley. Thank you for this, Ashley. I travel so much now, more now that I started checking every day. So many 3-day weekend trips are under $100. I never traveled this much when I was picking a date and a location first and then looking for a flight.
Amen.
I feel like we could just hang up. That's good.
Yep.
Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah. And yeah, you don't need our coaching program. You don't need any travel agents. You don't need Groupon deals. You just need to look every day and change that mindset. And
I'm
so,
going to say comment book as well, just to get that out there. We also have a
Sure.
book right now, $7, best money you'll ever spend, worth more than that. So just comment book and we'll send you a link to that. We don't have hard copy just yet because Joel is still zhuzhing it. I love it. Like adding
Yeah.
more things as we're going along. It's great.
Yeah, we're at about 7,500 digital copies. And the reason we went with digital was to get feedback from our readers. We found a couple hangups where people were, had questions. So we fleshed out those chapters. And yeah, we're pretty close to sending it to print after making all of those revisions. And we're pretty happy with that. So back to the basics. Yeah, that's it. Like rule 1, look every day and go where the deals are. And whether that's cash deals or points deals, they're all out there and you just need a system for checking for them. And we'll show you a few of those right now. Now, I saw a couple California comments. I saw a couple DC comments. So maybe we'll play around with rule 1 with that. So why don't I share my screen? Let's see.
This
Which
one?
one's mine? There it is. There it is. So I've done demos with Google Flights. Google Flights are what you use when you have very specific dates that you work with. The other one that we recommend is Kayak Explore. And that's where you're going to find better deals because you can be even more flexible on the dates than Google. And the more flexible you are, whether it's dates that you travel, destinations that you go to, airports that you leave from, airports that you fly into, those are 4 different ways that you can be flexible to find screaming deals. I feel like we did LA a few weeks ago. So let's go to the other coast and let's look from
we do have a lot of California people here, just to let you know, but we can actually we'll do that with the other demo.
Well, you know what? For perspective, let's do California.
Okay. Looking out for y'all out there.
Just look. So West Coast, always greatest to look at just what's right under our nose. You could get some quick weekend trips. You could go to Vegas for $40. You could fly out and visit us in Denver for $94. Once you kind of cross the Mississippi, then you could raise the bar a little, expect to spend a little more. But look at that. You can fly to Atlanta for $144. Dallas for $120. Some pretty great deals for quick weekend trips. What else have you got?
Well, the East Coasters are rattling the cage over here. So when you're done with that.
All right. Well, let's check out Asia and Caribbean from California. Let's check out Europe from the East Coast.
Excellent.
Let's keep this in mind because I was doing some poking around. I found a deal with points to Cabo. So $322. That's a coach flight. $322 round trip to Cabo. No way I would pay that from LA. But the beauty of looking every day is you can say, that's too expensive. No, thank you. You can play around with this budget. Scooch that down to call it $250. Yeah, nothing that really grabs my attention except maybe British Virgin Islands, that's pretty good from LA. Um,
Hey, Joel, they wanted to know, is this round trip or are you doing one way?
these are round trip prices.
Thank you.
These are coach fares. And so we talk about a lot of the pros and the cons of Kayak Explore. The pros are the prices will typically be 10 to 30% better than Google Flights because you have more flexibility on dates. The cons, unlike Google Explore or Google Anywhere, you don't get to select business class only. So you got to kind of find the cheap coach fare and then hope that there's a correlation and that business class is cheaper. But, as long as you're looking every day, you can, you find the really cheap coach fares and you drill down for business class if that's what you're looking for. But let's tie a string around that Cabo. That was $300 round trip coach, which was the best price we found today from LA. We'll come back to that later. Tokyo 674. That's a pretty screaming post-COVID deal for a round trip flight. And again, we don't have time to go into this today. We drill down to this in the book on how to find business class fares and so on. But typically you can expect to find business class for a little over double what you find coach fares for. And we have rules on how to determine if those are good deals. But 777 round trip to Thailand, 695 to Mumbai.
Wow.
And
again, this is round trip. That's incredible.
That's a short skip to Maldives. One of our coaches, everyone loves Mira, just went to the Maldives thanks to a trip like this that she found on points. She basically planned a whole round the world luxury vacation in business and first class flights and crazy baller suites. Would have been a $90,000 vacation if she paid for it with cash, and she did it for a few grand out of pocket.
Follow her in our group, y'all. She's been posting quite a bit. It's Stanamira is her full name. So you'll see a lot of the posts that she's been doing. And I know she's doing that on her personal profile as well. And just to clarify, yes, Carrie, thank you. Guess what? You can do your own research every day. Kayak.com/explore is what Joel is on right now.
So let's skip across to Europe. Let's check out things from the East Coast. So we'll do DC since I did see a few commenters from there. Look at this. $300. Where did it go? Of course, as soon as I said that, it went away. $327 to Madrid. We have one of our coaches is in Spain right now. I don't think she was in Madrid. I think she went to Barcelona. $342 to Barcelona. $340 to Paris. $338 to Copenhagen. Again, for post-COVID prices, these are phenomenal. Occasionally, these will dip under 300 and even more rare. Under 400, and even more rare, you can find them under $300 round trip. Now, again, these are coach fares, but I like to say these are veins of silver that you follow. So if you see a Paris deal, if it works with your calendar, I always recommend drilling down, digging a little deeper, and seeing what business class would be as well. Because I call this the button seat model. These aren't mistake fares. These aren't even remotely close to mistakes. These are the airlines need to get some butts in seats to keep that plane on schedule, to make sure that they don't have to cancel a flight and consolidate crews and reschedule things. That's way more costly, doing that for empty planes than just getting some butts in seats for cheap fares. And again, all you need is one of these a year to work out, and you can stretch your travel budget 3 to 5 times as far. And that doesn't mean you have to travel 3 to 5 times as often. Most business and first class cost 3 to 5, if not 10 times as much as coach. So you can travel on the same budget in business and first class by just seeking out the deals and being picky about, what you're willing to pay for those deals. But you don't get to be picky if you're not searching for those deals every day. Because if you just get around to planning a trip once or twice a year, you're going to pay market rate. with the exception of getting lucky.
Joel, I just popped up this comment from Carrie, by the way. We always recommend booking direct with the brand. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Sure.
I
So
mean, I know that says what it says, but yeah, give me a little
yeah,
bit more info.
the beauty of both Kayak and Google is these are called these are aggregators. So they're gathering the data from the internet, putting it in one convenient place for you to search. And then you can go and book directly with the airline. We always recommend doing that unless there's like a phenomenal deal. And when I say phenomenal, I mean like you can throw in the hotel for like an extra 5% of your flights, maybe 10%. That's a phenomenal deal that maybe you book through Travelocity or Expedia or whatever. But otherwise, book straight through the airline, because if there are problems, you get to deal straight with the airline. If there are problems booking through a third party, then that becomes a major hassle for, flight changes, flight cancellations, anything like that. So yeah, and all of these will point you to the airline that is offering that price. I mean, look at this. That's Canary Islands for under
And again,
$500.
this is from DC. Can you look at me now? I'm like, oh, look, let me get Joel to do things. Can you choose some dates just so we can see what that looks like? Because I know this is anywhere, anytime. So I'd like to see how that.
So let's talk about people who have kids in school. So that would be,
July, maybe August.
June or July, maybe into August. Let's just assume. Let's look for something next month. And you can play around. You can look for anything from, if we're looking for Europe, we don't want to go less than a week. And remember, the more restrictions you put on things, the more that price is going to be affected. Look how these prices jumped. But still, peak season, those aren't terrible prices. And again, this is just a snapshot today. If you come back tomorrow, you'll find completely different prices. If you don't like anything you see in July and you really want to go to Europe, no problem. Come back tomorrow. So right now, the cheapest we found is 7-something. And let's just see if August changes it. There we go. August, we're looking at we're back down to 420, 500, 600, all over Europe. And quite frankly, if you're like thinking of a total vacation budget, 600 to I thought that was Czech. Austria is a little more expensive. If that was Czech Republic, I'd take 600 to Czech Republic over Paris, because the lodging is going to be a tiny fraction of what Paris lodging will be. But pretty quick, pretty easy to poke around and see what's out there. I bet September gets even cheaper.
Yep. I just said, this sounds like lounge talk, which I love, which I'm going to pop this in here. So JGOOT Lounge, guaranteed strategies to travel in luxury for budget prices. Comment interested. That is our paid program. Can you talk a little bit about that real quick?
Sure. So you're watching this. This is JGOOT Village. Takes a village to unlearn expensive travel habits. That's what we teach here in JGOOT Village. If you'd like additional support, there's our book, which is, a lot more comprehensive set of rules on how to travel this way. And if you'd like help beyond that, we have a travel coaching program. It's a 6-month program where we guarantee that you will be able to book at least $10,000 in free travel, and sometimes more, depending on a few variables: your spending power, what credit cards are in your wallet, what credit cards you're willing to get. Those are all things that we consult with you on whether or not we would be able to help you meet that minimum guarantee. If you're interested in that, comment interested in the comments, and one of our travel coaches can reach out and have a conversation, see if that would interest you. I always like to say, if you're just looking to save money, no problem. You can buy our $7 book. We'll save you thousands of dollars. If you're looking to travel in luxury that normally costs 3 to 5 times as much, that's what JGOOT Lounge is for. It's for people who already travel, and they travel, long haul flights to Europe, to Asia, to Australia, etc., and are tired of doing that in coach, and they don't want to spend $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 for those flights. That's what we show you how to do. So speaking of how to do that on points, this is rule 1. This is how you find cash deals. And our philosophy is like the more of these deals you find, the more you get to stockpile those points for big, lavish luxury vacations using points. So, maybe you use them for those emergencies, for family emergencies, for weddings, for funerals, for guys trips, girls trips, etc. Fixed date, fixed location. Odds of those being good deals are pretty slim. You've got points as a backup. The less you need those emergency points, the more they get to build up, the more of those fun trips that you got to take. You guys want to go check out some fun trips on points? Just do like a live search. I'm going to assume there's a yes in there. Mia, you want to check? By the way, internet is like Comcast is working in our whole neighborhood. Internet has been sketchy. Mia, have you still got me?
I do. You sound
Okay.
great. So we're excited to have you still here. And then tell me when you're ready for the other, for the Virgin
Okay.
presentation.
All right.
Oh, lots of yeses.
So let's look. I happened to be researching. I was thinking of going and visiting my son in Australia while he's there. Why? Because we can, and we have points to be able to do so.
That's a very unofficial JGOOT line, by the way.
Yeah.
Why? Because we can.
Points allow for that, and if would I take a 1 week trip in coach for a couple grand, $2 or $3 grand round trip? Absolutely not. Would I fly round trip in lie flat business seats for a couple $100 out of pocket and points that I earn passively? Not a problem at all. The only reason I'm not going is we did have some family commitments that we could not get around here. That I didn't get to do, but you guys get to benefit since I did some of that research. Here's some deals you guys could go book.
And Jill, I've got a couple examples of some pretty good things. Thank you, William. Applying rule number 1, found 2 round trip tickets to Nashville from DC in December or September for 75 total. Way to go, William. I love that. And then here's another example of different travelers that we have. I just want to use these trips to go see my parents and elderly grandparents a few times a year.
Oh, and those are the best. We have so many stories of not only that, but like sometimes you can fly the grandparents out to visit you. We've got clients who have said, like we flew our grandparents out. They watched the kids and we had our first date night in years because they found $30 flights. I mean, it's cheaper when you travel this way, it's cheaper to fly family into town to watch the kids than to hire a babysitter. Literally.
Yeah. Those are my favorite stories. Those are great. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I love those too. That's how JGOOT was started. I found cheap trips during a tough time in my life, and I went and visited friends and family when my kids were off with their mom, and I picked up and went. And this all allows for that. It doesn't have to be big exotic trips. You just apply this strategy. You travel more, however you want to do it. So let's do some fun stuff with Air Canada. So there are a couple things here. Air Canada is, it's not the go-to that most people think of, but this is what we call a second tier transfer partner. So it's not a major carrier out of the US, but they fly throughout the world. They have partnerships with US carriers. These are how you can find great deals. So since I was researching, the other thing that you want to keep in mind is I live in Denver, Colorado. Other than Caribbean and Mexico and Canada and like Central America, there are 3 destinations I can fly direct to. I can fly to London, I can fly to Hawaii, and I can fly to Munich. Those are the only places outside of like Caribbean, Central America, and Canada that I can fly to direct. So if I just accept the fact that there's probably going to be a layover, why wouldn't I change that into what's called a positioning flight? So why wouldn't I look for, if I'm going to have a layover anyway, why not look out of LA? Why not look out of San Francisco? Because the goal here is to get into first class. But I'm not, I'm not a Kardashian. I'm not made of money. I can't afford $5,000-$10,000 flights, but it sure is a lot more comfortable. So I have to be a little scrappy with how I'm going to find these deals. So I looked from San Francisco, I looked from Seattle, I looked from LA, and I happened to find, well, let's do this how I searched. Auckland, I was going to see about going and visiting, sometime next week. Let's just start a search to just get the ball rolling and see what I find. Now this, if we looked at on Kayak Explorer, flights to like from San Francisco, just get some perspective here. San Francisco to the other side of the world. Oops, I scrolled a little too far. To Australia in coach is actually, that's pretty cheap, $1,000 round trip. If we, but if we looked in business class, you can expect to spend a minimum of triple that. 3 to 10 grand are what business class flights are round trip to Australia. So, and most people would not bat an eye at spending 300 to 700,000 points to fly to Australia from anywhere in the mainland. But by just looking for the deals and going where those are, why did that not pull up? So first of all, I'm going to get myself to the West Coast. I'm going to look for one way because those are easier to find deals. And I'm going to search to Auckland, New Zealand. See what we come up with. Oops, they signed me out. I'll go ahead and sign in.
Okay, and I am up on my screen too.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Our plan if you need it.
Yeah, they're pretty picky about these. They'll boot you in with 5 minutes of activity.
I just got booted too. In Canada. They're like, we know you're from America. Forget you. Boot you out. And I'm back on.
Now I got to start it over. And nothing found during this time. But the cool thing is they search about a week at a time. We can toggle, scroll a little later. And this is the world of traveling on points. Sometimes you just got to be scrappy and look. So look at this, 50K, 75K. These are coach prices. So I'm going to just look at where the cheapest deal is, because the cheaper the coach price, most likely the cheaper the business class flight. 50K, that's $500 worth of points for $1,000 flight. Not bad. I probably would pay cash instead. But look at this, 75,000 nonstop from San Francisco. That's a 13-hour flight to Auckland, New Zealand. 75,000 points. That's business class the entire way. And
this is one way, right, Joel?
That's correct.
Okay.
One way. So 75,000 points. That's if you were to cash out your points with Chase or with Amex or whatever, that would be $750. So do you want a $750 worth of points that you earned with probably $25,000 or $30,000 in spend? Or do you want a business class flight that...
Can you show us the cash price?
Yeah.
Is that where you're going?
Yep. Let's uncheck this box. So 75,000 points, and it's like $80 in cash in taxes.
Oh my gosh.
Or 10 grand. So do you want $750 statement credit, or do you want a $10,000 lie flat business class seat? Now, let's be real. No one on this audience is going to spend 10 grand on a flight, but people do. $5 grand for premium economy, $1,500 for economy. These are real prices that real people pay. And that's what it's like. There are people out there with plenty of money who won't even bat an eye at spending 5 or 10 grand for a one-way flight to be in a comfortable seat. I'm not going to do that, but I will gladly do that with $750 worth of points instead of $500 worth of points to be in coach. So it's that simple. You literally look where the deals are. You plan your vacations around those.
And then look how long you would have to travel too. I mean, that's the other thing you need to think about is, 24 hours, 13 hours, 15 hours. I mean, if you could do that on points, that's amazing.
Right. And these are assumptions people make. Oh, well, it must be lots of layovers. That one I found was a direct flight. So it's all of these assumptions that we make that are usually incorrect assumptions that cause us to not even look. We just assume, oh, there's got to be some catch to that. You know what the catch is? They don't have enough butts in those seats. So they're giving them away. And why not like just collect some points on a seat that would go empty anyway? And like as someone who earns points, teachers, we have clients who are teachers, we have realtor clients, we have firefighters and nurses who are clients who are taking these seats. Like this is a confirmed seat. If I booked this flight to go visit my son, which I would do with the exception of some family commitments, I would get this seat. Someone with like million miler status or platinum status with United, because that transfers to Air Canada, they wouldn't get that seat. They could book their premium economy seat and hope for an upgrade. I could just take it, just by knowing what I'm doing. So look for the deals, go where the deals are, plan your vacations around them. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I looked and these are like, if you looked at a whole month calendar, which you can't do on Air Canada, but if you looked, if I looked during the whole month that I was thinking about, there were outbound and return flights about 1 in 10, 1 in 15 days. So, and again, that's pretty good odds if you plan your trips around those deals. The odds of those happening, if you like pick your vacation window of time and then hope to find a deal that falls in that window of time, slim to none. Plan a trip around a deal, guaranteed savings. Like guaranteed in the fact that don't book it if you don't like the deal. Mia, let's pull up just another example. Let's go back to our LA folks and poke around on Virgin Atlantic.
Okay, so this is me running the show over here. So, all right, so we started in Las Vegas. And after this, we promise we'll do a little bit of Midwest. We're not forgetting about you. Listen, I grew up in Illinois. I wouldn't forget about y'all. Okay, so, all right, so let's talk about what the designation letters or destination letters we're going to use, because you have a little bit of a story on.
Yeah, fun little story.
Yeah.
So remember, 2 purposes for points. 1, emergency backup, which is typically weddings, funerals, guys' trips, girls' trips, etc. It can also be when you screw up the airport code, like I did when I took my daughter on a dive trip. And I wanted to go to San Jose del Cabo, SJD, but I booked San Jose, California, SJC.
Let me change this to LAX real quick, which we tried to search earlier from Las Vegas, and then it kept not coming up, but it's because it actually doesn't fly out of there. So, okay, so let's do that. Let's do your, so you booked.
SJ. So we don't want to go to San Jose, California. We want to go to San Jose del Cabo, SJD. There we go.
Choose carefully.
So
Joel found out actually at the airport.
Yes. I literally, my heart sank when we walked to the gate, and I was like, that's weird. They didn't ask for passports. Oh, well, just kept walking. And we got to the gate, and I was like, oh my gosh. No. And sure enough, I had points. I booked it. I was able to get reimbursed because I had travel insurance that covered that. And we got off almost unscathed. Still had to wait for our bags to come in because our bags were booked through to California.
And by the way, Lynn, it's funny because it's not us, and it didn't happen, right?
But anyway, points to the rescue. It did not cost me a penny for that catastrophic screw up. So anyway, let's see about a quick trip to San Jose del Cabo. Let's just look like mid-July. Sometime next month. Let's see what we can find.
Ready? One way, correct?
Yep, and we have points checked, correct?
Let's see. Where would I check
Another
points?
pro tip. It's a little small for me. Let's just click through and we'll see.
Okay.
Another pro tip: we always like to search one way. The odds of finding a perfect flight, on round trip, like outbound and return, super slim. But you can usually poke around and find a one way. And if you find something, then turn around and look for the return flight.
Now, this may look different too, Joel, because it did log me out. Just if you can tell up here, I would need to log in again if you want me to.
Okay.
But here's still, this is Tuesday, July 11th.
And
for
did
these
we
points.
select business class for that?
Ooh, that's the other
Because
thing.
the big thing was we found $322 round trip coach flights, which means you're looking at minimum $750, probably $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 for business class
Oh, hold on. Here we
to
go.
Cabo.
So don't follow all this, folks. Here we go.
This is real
I don't
life
think
too. You know,
it's
like
this is real life.
you get logged out. Like this is
Yeah,
what you do to get
there you go.
$3,000 to $5,000 to $10,000 flights for
All right.
$50 or $100.
It's actually not going to let me right now. So let's go back and at least just jump in there and get on Virgin Atlantic. And so we're doing LA, but you wanted me to check what type of tickets there were, right?
Yeah.
So let's go in here.
And we're working without a net here.
We are, which I love. This is how we do it. So this would be, are these coach then? Sort and filter?
That should be business class. We
I think
cheated.
this
We
is.
looked this up so we weren't spending a long time looking for them. But it was 27,000 points.
There it
and
is. This is
44
first
bucks.
class. There we go.
First class. Not even business. First class. So $270 worth of points, plus 44 bucks in taxes for first class. Now, and again, we didn't research the business class flight, but
So
it's
actually
pretty
this
safe
is,
to
this is,
assume.
yes. So 27,000, this is the first class. So yes, for $44 in taxes.
Yeah. So who wants to go to Cabo for $44 in taxes twice? So 88 bucks round trip in
Thank you for
first
this, by the way.
class.
Oh my God, isn't that amazing?
And again, go where the deals are. Maybe you were thinking of Playa del Carmen. Yeah, but the deal is to Cabo. I was listening to a podcast from Simon Sinek a couple of weeks ago, and he was interviewing a guy who started a big business, and he said our biggest thing was we chose our lane and we told our clients what lane it was. And the quote was like, "We're going to Cleveland. If you're not going to Cleveland, don't get on this bus." And this is the same thing. Like that's, it's great. You want to go to Hawaii over spring break during very specific dates. Well, you're going to pay an arm and a leg. The odds are about 9 out of 10 that you will pay an arm and a leg. 1 in 10 odds you'll get lucky and get an okay deal. But 44 bucks in first class each way, $88 round trip, you won't get that lucky.
Hey, Joel,
if you go with the deals are, you're guaranteed to be that lucky.
You are. I love this. And Katie answered this too. If you book with points, does the travel insurance cover the points cash value or the value of the flight? And then Katie said, pay the fees with your credit card that has insurance on it.
Yep. And that's another
Excellent
reason we
pro tip.
recommend the premium cards. A lot of the premium travel cards have high fees, but nearly every one of them has credits that offset those fees. So even though a lot of people say, I'm not paying $500 a year for a credit card that I could get for free. First of all, you couldn't get that credit card for free. It's a premium card. And they typically have credits and benefits that far outweigh the cost of the program. So rather than looking at those high annual fees as annual fees, look at the credits that you get. And if those are things that you would be spending money on anyway, it's not really an annual fee as much as it is just prepaying for stuff you would already be spending money on anyway. Like flights, like your Chase Sapphire Reserve card will reimburse you for up to $300 in flights, cab fares, Uber rides, tolls, parking fees, anything travel related. And they're pretty lenient with what that means. And then you also get travel insurance. I've wrecked a car, or I backed a car into a parking pole, covered. It was pouring rain in Costa Rica, and we made a wrong turn into a parking lot. I backed out, totally scratched like 2 panels on the back of a rental car, covered by Chase.
I don't think you've ever outed yourself on that story. I love it. Again, learning through Joel. So
real world.
Real world stuff, just like, me trying to sign into this thing, because that's another thing. It does sign you out. So comment book, because what Joel was just talking about, that's covered in the book as well, especially when it comes to the credit cards that we endorse, which, by the way, are not many. We're pretty picky.
Yep. Yeah, and that's something that's different about the JGOOT way of travel. We are not churners and burners. We do not believe in getting our benefits from sign-up bonuses. It's a nice perk if you get that as a new card, but everything about what we teach is get 2 or 3 cards that work very, very well for you. Learn to use them, and that's all you need. You don't ever need more cards. I have 2 cards in my wallet that get the majority of my personal spend. I have a 3rd card that gets my business expenses. That's it. I don't need more because I know how to use those cards to their fullest. And the thing is, credit card companies love that. They hate card churners. They hate people that sign up for their bonus, take the points, spend like the minimum amount possible, and then move on to another card. They all have rules in place to prevent that. They ban those types of users whenever they can. Amex even has a department. They're called Rat Patrol. And those people's jobs is to find people who abuse the system and kick them out. You don't need to do that with the JGOOT way of travel. You find cheap cash deals, you plan vacations around them. You find cheap points deals when you can't find a cheap cash deal with points that you earn by just learning how to earn a lot more points with your combo of Chase and Amex cards. It's that simple. And, hopefully I gave you a little preview. Where did we wanted to check out Midwest?
Yes. Real quick question. Is Virgin
question?
Atlantic a travel partner with Chase?
Mm-hmm. Is yes. So Virgin Atlantic is a transfer partner from both Chase and Amex. So is Air Canada. That was another reason I chose those 2 examples. Let's see. Let's do kayak.
Excellent.
So Midwest, what do you have? What do you want to do? Chicago?
Let's do Chicago.
So Chicago, let's zoom in a little. Miami, $96, not bad. Nothing that's like jumping out at me in the US. Seattle, 168, that's not bad. 81 Atlanta. Those are all like, I tell people don't narrow yourself in on like, well, I've always wanted to go to see the Grand Canyon, so I'm only watching Las Vegas. Look for the cheap prices, go where they are. Maybe you've got an old friend that's in Atlanta. Maybe you've got a family member in Miami. You weren't planning on visiting them, but $50 flights can usually change that. And you won't find them if you're not looking. Midwest to Europe, still not bad. 600s, high fives. And if you don't like anything, look the next day. There will be a whole different set of choices. Hopefully, I think it might be a little bit more of a goose chase with points. But, there are deals out there from any airport to any airport. And then if not, you can always get yourself to another airport. Those are called positioning flights. Unless you're made of money, they are a reality that are worth considering. But if it means the difference between like flying direct out of Chicago to, say, Paris, or catching a cheap flight to DC and then taking the long haul portion to Paris in a lie flat seat that turns into a bed, those are all options that will make travel a lot more comfortable and a lot more affordable by simply just being creative, being flexible on when and where you're willing to go.
Excellent. All right.
So I see that you highlighted a few questions. Should we cover a few of those? And
just a few comments. Yes. I said, I never seem to find the deals. And if there's no deal, no luggage at all allowed. Now, I know Katie probably had a comment about that.
So this is a very common assumption, especially with Rule 1 stuff. So, of course, the budget carriers are usually going to be the first flights that you see. And a lot of people say, oh, all you guys do is pitch Flying Spirit and Frontier. We're not pitching Flying Spirit and Frontier. They just happen to be the cheapest options. And sometimes, Spirit and Frontier, we have a client who found flights to somewhere in the British Virgin Islands, and Spirit had flights for $97. And everyone is going to say, I refuse to fly Spirit. They charge an arm and a leg for baggage. They nickel and dime you, yada, yada, yada. Sure. Sometimes legacy carriers, and in this case, American Airlines, price matched. They were $98 and bags were included. So it was actually cheaper to pay $1 more to fly on a legacy carrier and not a budget airline because bags were included. So again, that's one of those assumptions. So this right here is, I never seem to find those. What I would suggest is cast a wider net. Most people that say they never find those deals are either looking, from their home airport and they're in a small regional airport. Maybe start looking in a close international airport that'll have those better deals, and just plan on getting yourself to that airport. And again, be open to where you're willing to go. Most people look at Instagram and say, I'm dying to go to Italy. We went to Italy last summer, not because it was a coveted Instagram location, but because we found flights that we booked in business class for $156 in taxes and $900 worth of points. The coach flights were $2,000. The business class flights were $6,000. So that's a screaming deal. We planned a vacation around it. Problem solved. We had a $30,000 worth of flights and lodging that were paid for solely because we planned a vacation around $24,000 worth of flights that we booked for $600. That's it. But the biggest thing, you got to get rid of those assumptions. Yes, you will find Spirit and Frontier first in the results. Scroll down and see how much more carriers that you would rather fly on cost. Sometimes it's negligible. Sometimes it's maybe $100 more. It's a personal choice.
I know you've already answered this, but this is the beginning. If you're looking Google, how or what do you use to find a great deal on points? And I know we've really covered this extensively, but this kind of wraps it all up for us.
Right. So the points is a little bit more hunting and pecking. It's a little bit more hit and miss. You can follow blogs. The problem is, the points guy with his 15 million followers, the second he publishes a blog, 15 million people go and grab those deals up. So a lot of this is you got to go find them yourself. And just like we kind of poked around on Air Canada and poked around on Virgin Atlantic, you can poke around on the airline that will get you to the places you want to go. And every once in a while you hit a jackpot. That's really it. There is not a correlation. That's the beauty of this. Points prices do not vary, like they don't adjust with cash prices. They're either available or they're not. And every airline has different rules, but a lot of them have just fixed prices that they will give seats away for screaming deals because they would otherwise get sold. Or they would otherwise go empty. So why not give seats away to who they feel are their most loyal customers, then let the seat go empty? And that's really all that happens with points. So there isn't really a correlation. We always try to look for the cash deal first because our ultimate goal is to save points for when they're only absolutely necessary. If I could have flown my son to Australia for $1,000, $1,500 round trip in coach, probably would have done it. But because I found such a screaming deal, like $12,000 worth of comfortable luxury flights with $1,500 worth of points, no brainer. Because I can replace points a lot more easily than I can replace cash, which is what we do through earning multipliers. Total different topic for a different time. We go through that in the book.
I was about to say, comment on the book. And hey, Joel, just for giggles, I just got a little birdie just told me the search might have been a little skewed on Chicago, that it was still on September of 2023. Change the dates. Yeah. So let's go back. Just there you go. See how that works. This is real time stuff, folks.
You pop my screen on.
There you go.
Good catch. Good catch. Remember, so let's look at these prices. $1,000 is about $900 to Philippines, $900 to Thailand. Ooh, $800 to India. That's rare. It's cheaper to fly farther to India than it is to Asia. Again, not all of these rules make sense because these are probably more empty planes, so they're cheaper. But if we just change this, let's watch what happens to those prices. Yeah, not a whole lot. So that just means that September was a pretty good month for prices. Little cheaper, but not much. I bet there was a big difference in the States. $50 to Atlanta, $90 to Miami, etc. So tons of different knobs and dials that you can turn to customize your searches to what you're looking for. But again, the biggest, most important thing, and I saw a couple objections that, again, you just got to get past those objections and try it. This is literally how I learned to travel this way. Over a decade ago, when I was going through a long drawn out divorce, a pilot friend of mine gave me a buddy pass, and he gave it so I could visit family. I needed to go to the East Coast a lot to be with a family member who needed medical support. And he gave it so that I could do that. That first year, that's pretty much all I did with it. And I had free flight benefits, but the excuses in my head about being too busy, about times being tight because of the divorce, about lawyers watching and judging because of too much travel. I had so many excuses built up in my head that I didn't even travel when it was free. It wasn't until the second year that my friend said, dude, I'll give you this buddy pass for another year, but you got to use it. Like you realize you can travel anywhere in the world.
Right.
And so once he beat me over the head and kind of said, what are you doing? Like, you're wasting an opportunity of a lifetime. That year, I went to Hawaii because I could. I went to Costa Rica on a solo trip and found myself. Like, that was a life-changing trip. I visited friends and family because I could. I went to Roatan, Honduras, which I had never heard of. And it's, to this day, still one of my favorite trips ever. But that only happened once I got rid of those assumptions that I was getting in my own way. Just like when, someone says, what if that's all that work allows? Do you work 7 days a week? Is it ever possible to take a long weekend? If you ever found a trip that's $29 or $10 round trip, could you go visit a friend and give yourself a break and fly out and treat a friend to some drinks and dinner and have a fun weekend? So these assumptions that you're too busy are all things that we create in our head. Most of us have long weekends. Most of us have the ability to take an extra day or two off of work. But if we're not creating the opportunities to go and do that, we won't do it. And we'll go through the rest of our lives thinking that life is too busy. It doesn't fit in the budget. Yeah, traditional travel doesn't fit in the budget. But $29 flights to visit a long lost friend, it's cheaper than a round of drinks. And the only reason you're not finding it is because you're not looking for them.
Mindset change. Y'all notice I just nod my head a lot when Joel's preaching the gospel of travel, because I just go, yep, he's right. It totally is. And it absolutely is a mindset change. I love the story you talk about, even when you were traveling and when Michelle was still teaching, and she just changed, okay, well, wait, so why don't we just have her take a day off so we can travel on this day? And that's the mindset change as well, too.
Yeah. So I wanted to answer this other one. Becca asks, do you typically have to book the super deals immediately, like same day? And that is one of the things. Like, these deals, they come and they go quick. It's usually 6 to 12 seats, sometimes maybe 20, that the whole world is looking at. And so they do typically disappear within 24 to 48 hours, sometimes less. The better a deal it is, the quicker they disappear. Because these are just, like I said, these are when airlines need to get a handful of butts in seats. They drop prices because that's cheaper than canceling a flight. And early bird gets the worm. And that doesn't mean you have to fly last minute. I've booked trips months in advance that were solely because they were cheap and they fit with my schedule. Some of our clients are so booked that they're constantly looking 11 months out, because that's when a lot of the really sweet deals are. So yes, when you see them, you do typically want to be prepared to book them as soon as possible. But another quote from one of our clients that I just love, they found $267 flights to Paris. They weren't thinking of going to Paris, but $267 flights for their family of 4 over their spring break, they dropped everything. They looked at their calendar. They decided that it worked. It took a total of an hour, and they were booked to Paris. How often can you spend only an hour planning a trip when you say, let's go to some specific place over spring break? Like, the odds of that being a good deal are slim to none. But when you look for good deals, the odds of it being a good deal are 100%. Because if it's not a good deal, don't book it. Look the next day.
That's it. It is that is rule number one, which we love. So once again, we're in JGOOT Village, as we said, a free community where we teach anyone the basics of how to travel anywhere in the world for free. That's what you talked about today. JGOOT Lounge, we spoke about that earlier. That is our paid coaching program, guaranteed strategies to travel in luxury. Please comment interested, and then we'll send you a link, and then we'll book a call because we need to make sure it's a fit for you and for what we have in the content too. It's not for everybody, but it's definitely for everybody. How's that?
Yeah, it's an interview. We want it to be a good fit. If you don't spend enough money, and our kind of cutoff is about $25,000 a year. If you don't spend more than $25,000 a year, we're probably not going to encourage you to join our high-level coaching program, because that's, quite frankly, not enough spending power to fly internationally in business or first class. There are other strategies that we'll tell you, free resources that you can use. We'll point you which chapters of our book you can focus on. But those are why we like to book a call, because we don't want people that it wouldn't be a fit. And we want to make sure that those that are a good fit, have the spending power, are willing to get the cards that we recommend. Because if you insist on certain cards, we don't recommend those cards, because it's too hard to work. It's too much work. So we like to do, this is complicated enough. We like to make it as easy as possible, and that's why we set up a call.
Excellent. And then one more thing, we have an event coming up in August.
Ooh, yeah.
So that is definitely something you'll want to be here. It's here in Denver. We still have tickets for it as well. So please come an event. We'll get you the information. It's a 2-day event. I'll be there emceeing. Joel's going to be there. A lot of the folks, in fact, all the folks that are commenting and some that aren't even here today will be there as well. So that'll be a fun, deep dive, immersive, a very cost-effective way to really fast forward yourself into the JGOOT way.
Yeah.
So come an event. Right? That's all we've got.
We've got coaches standing by who will tell you all about it.
Exactly. All right, let's do a giveaway. I think we're at like 470 comments. I think we may have hit the record on attendees today, Joel.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So pretty excited about that. So drum roll, 470. Commenter 333. I love that lucky number. That's an angel number.
Right.
So Brooke from above will get in touch with you and let you know you won the $100 travel savings card. I think we'll be back next week. Not sure what we're going to be doing, but it'll be fun and informative. And I think that's it. So thanks for all that. That was awesome.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Happy travels.
Thanks.